Shalom and welcome back to Jerusalem, here in the old city of Shalim, capital, the spiritual capital of the world. I want to focus on this week's Torah portion, but really on one word in this week's Torah portion. It's a fascinating word. And remember, this is the Torah portion that follows the dramatic, exciting, but also very frightening experience at Mount Sinai. And the people of Israel were frightened to death of the fire and the thunder and the voice of God, and seeing the sounds. That was very frightening for them. And as a result, this week's Torah portion suddenly makes a dramatic shift. Instead of the sublime, instead of the infinite, we're dealing with the day-to-day lives of people. This Torah portion called MISHPATIM, ordinances, deals with how to live our lives with each other, how to respect one another, how to begin to create a system of life where we each respect and treat each other fairly. And this Torah portion called MISHPATIM, ordinances, is Exodus 21:1 to 24:18. And we read the following verse, and the word I want to focus on is the word mishpatim. Let's read the verse. And these are the ordinances, the mishpatim, that you shall set before them. And then the Torah then relates a long list of ordinances and rules and things we need to be aware of and things we need to be careful with. And it seems in such a stark contrast to everything we'd experienced before. The book of Exodus starts with the momentous exodus from Egypt. Plagues, miracles, the world is put into complete upheaval. And then the splitting of the Red Sea, or the Reed Sea. Dramatic. The world heard. Jethro came from far away because he heard about these great miracles. Very dramatic. And then we go to standing at the foot of Mount Sinai and God revealing himself to the people of Israel and to the whole world. And there was such a dramatic and frightening experience that the people of Israel actually were frightened. And then all of a sudden, we start reading about rules and regulations. And what is that all about? What's that shift supposed to teach us? What are we supposed to learn from that? So let's focus on that word mishpatim. The word used for ordinances in this parsha, in this Torah portion, is mishpatim. But that same Hebrew word, mishpatim, is also used for justice, right? It's also used for the Hebrew word for sentence. So throughout the Tanakh, the word mishpat generally relates to justice, with what is right. Zion will redeem, the prophet Isaiah in chapter 1, verse 27, Zion will be redeemed through mishpat, through justice. And those who return to it through tzedakah, through loving kindness. Then the mishpatim become the way we're supposed to develop a world that is based on justice. That makes sense. Ordinances relate to justice, and these connect. And in these mishpatim is a way for us to bring in divine justice into this world. They also, in general, the commandments in the Torah that relate to how we're supposed to deal with God, the Shabbat, the festivals, how we're supposed to understand God in the world, the Sabbath. Those are all commandments that help us to reveal God in the world, to reveal our relationship with God in the world. The commandments that deal between us and our fellow man, they're supposed to do something else. They're supposed to reveal the divine presence in every human being. Not only God working in the world, but God existing within each one of us. And so how we treat our neighbor in many ways is how we understand God in our lives. But the word mishpatim also relates to another word. Mishpat in Hebrew means a sentence. A sentence is a gathering of words that have a beginning and have an end. And when you read the full sentence, you begin to understand what it's trying to tell you. So the Mishpatim is a way for us to make sense of some of the most incredible experiences we ever experienced in our lives, some of those epiphanies we feel in our own lives, some of those things that are just beyond our comprehension. We bring it back down into mishpatim, into sentences. Those sentences allay our fears. Remember, we talked about this before. When the people were at Mount Sinai, all the people saw the voices and the torches. Actually, they heard the voices and the torches, the sounds and the torches, and the sound of the shofar and the smoking mountain, and the people saw and trembled, and they stood from afar. Exodus 20:15. Then we read again in Deuteronomy. Therefore they said to Moshe, why should we die? For this great fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of Hashem, our God, anymore, we shall die. Moshe says, I understand. Step back, and Hashem will speak to you. But it's then that Hashem tells him something else. Hashem says, Hashem heard the voice of your words, and when he spoke to me, he says, I've heard the voice of the words of this people, which they have spoken unto thee, and they have well said, they're right. We would have thought that Hashem would say, I'm here talking to them. Why are they turning away? Why are they going back? Why are they moving away from me? Hashem says, no, they're right. That sense of awe, that sense of fear, but not fear in the sense of frightened to death, but just like, oh my God, that's God, and look at us. That's important. That's critical to keep in our lives. Oh, that they had such a heart as this always, Hashem says, to fear me, to keep all my commandments, so that it might be well with them and with their children forever. So Hashem takes it from the ethereal, from the dramatic, and brings it into our daily lives. So the connection of the word mishpat, ordinances, to the word sentence is revealing. It teaches us that the walk of obedience with God form the sentences of our lives. Those sentences are their narrative of our lives. Narratives need order, they need sentence, they need something we can deal with. Hashem takes the ethereal and brings it down to our daily living, to the things we do in our lives. So we are focused on developing a life that is caring for others, to see the divine beauty in others, to understand that others go through the same difficulties, questions, fears that we all do. And when we understand that, when we have that divine caring, because God knows what's in the hearts of men, we need to love our neighbors ourselves. What does that mean? Not selfishly, oh, I love me, so I want to love them. No, you alone know in yourselves those insecurities, those fears you might have, that sense of, well, wait a second, I don't know if I could do this. If you understand that in yourself, understand that in the other person, and then you could love them. Love that divine spark that's in every one of them. And that's the reason that the Torah portion that talks about the ordinances begin with the word ve'ele, and these things. Usually, when the word ele is used, when Hashem used the word ele, these, without the word ve, without the and, these are one thing, and there's another. Ve'ele is saying it's connected. Just like you heard me speak, God is saying, just like you heard me speak at Mount Sinai, and about me and the Sabbath, and understand that these little ordinances that I'm giving you, these sentences, they're going to make up your life and take it from a place of selfishness into a place of divinity. So just as the commandments that Hashem revealed in the 10 declarations of Mount Sinai was to be a revelation of God in this world, the same would be true of these ordinances, these statutes. We're commanded in Mishpatim to live a life that's focused on caring for others and their property and their lives. In essence, we become a vessel for Hashem to work through their lives. So on Mount Sinai, on Har Sinai, Hashem spoke to us. In the Torah portion of Mishpatim, we learn how to be the vessel for Hashem's words. We learn to be His language. And that's what Hashem wants from us more than anything else. Hashem expresses Himself in this world when we allow ourselves, through the way we live our lives, the way we live our lives with others, we allow ourselves to be his expression. And when we do it in such a way that brings honor and beauty and caring and sensitivity for others, everything begins to change. So we are entering this Friday in Shabbat, the month of Adar. Month of Adar is a powerful month. It's a month that we experience Purim, the festival of Purim, the Book of Esther, which we'll be talking about a lot about. But it's also a month where out of that precipitous standing so close to the end of our lives in Shushan, suddenly everything changed dramatically. Suddenly we began to be joyful again. And Simcha, real joy, is when something happens you don't expect. Adar is a month where we have to learn how to expect things to suddenly dramatically switch and bring us joy. Because if we expect joy, if we yearn for joy, but expect it to happen, we become a vessel that's ready to receive it when it happens. Adar, this Friday in Shabbat, is the beginning of the month where everything can flip over on its side and suddenly joy fills our lives. And it does so when we become vessels for Hashem's MISHPATIM in the world. So may you have joy, may you experience joy, and may you find the glory and the ability to be Hashem's language in this world. A Shabbat Shalom and Chodesh Tov, again, new month. The word Chodesh is new. Expect newness. Expect things to change in dramatic ways. And also, and this is important, also be aware that this is about Hashem's timing, not us. But Hashem, I expected this to happen, like everything in its timing. But if you look for it, you'll find the tide turns here and the tide turns there, and things you were concerned about suddenly get a perspective that allows you to feel joy again. So Chodesh Tov, a new time, a time of renewal, and Shabbat Shalom. And until the next time, thank you very much for being part of our attempting to bring Shorashim into your lives. Thank you for supporting us. Those of you that had the urge to purchase products or just be on hand with us. And thank you for your questions. We're trying to answer all the questions people send to us. Thank you very much. Thank you for being part of this big study hall that we call Shorashim. Shabbat Shalom, Lehitrot, and Chodesh Tov.